Following a shopping experience at a store called EJ Corvettes in New York City, a recently discharged Army veteran named Carl Bennett and his wife Dorothy decided to use $8,000 of their savings to open a tiny second-floor store selling toys, housewares, luggage, and gifts at a discount on Main Street in Port Chester, New York. In 1951, the first CALDOR store opened. The name of the store was a combination of the founders' first names, Carl and Dorothy. CALDOR focused on a few differentiating factors, including specializing in name brand goods. The CALDOR shopper was usually middle to upper income. They wanted better quality merchandise and appreciated a pleasant atmosphere with knowledgeable and trained personnel. It was a discount store, but it didn't feel that way. The store's slogan, "Where shopping is always a pleasure," summed up what they were trying to achieve. In 1958, CALDOR expanded to a second location, and by 1961, it had grown to 4 locations. That same year, the company went public, but also suffered a huge loss when one of their stores burned down in Norwalk, Connecticut, not too far from the company's headquarters. By 1966, CALDOR had opened their 9th store and continued to expand in the 5-state region of New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and New Hampshire. The big push in expansion came in 1976, when CALDOR took over 7 stores formerly operated by the W.T. Grant Company. They closed out the decade with 56 stores, and its sales would top $550 million. Even during the recession of the late 1970s, CALDOR's earnings continued to grow over 20%. Expansion was very steady and deliberate, with Carl Bennett carefully moving step by step instead of in big leaps like many retailers at the time. So what was making this chain so successful? CALDOR carried only first-rate merchandise by only national brands, which it sold at 25% less than department store competition. It also had one of the most liberal refund policies in the area, with customer service counters located in the front of the store rather than in the back. The stores themselves were always clean, colorful, and did not look like a discount outlet. With such a successful and attractive operation, acquisition by other companies was very tempting. So in 1981, a time when mergers and acquisitions were all the rage, Associated Dry Goods purchased CALDOR for $313 million. Following the buyout, Carl Bennett stayed on for an additional 4 years. When he retired in 1985, the company had grown to 100 stores and $1 billion in sales. Associated Dry Goods would have preferred Carl stay on longer because they felt like he was the reason the chain was so successful. Almost immediately, things started to get shaky for CALDOR. In 1986, Associated Dry Goods was bought out by May Department Stores for $2.2 billion, which was, at the time, the most expensive retail merger in history. It was again sold in 1989. this time to Odyssey Partners for $500 million. Odyssey immediately took the company public again and began expanding. By the mid-1990s, CALDOR had become the fourth largest department store in the country. But by 1995, CALDOR was filing for bankruptcy protection because sales were falling fast and they found themselves unable to compete with chains like Walmart, which offered steep discounts. In addition to challenges by competitors, CALDOR released their annual toy book for the 1998 Christmas season, but somehow a picture of two boys playing Scrabble made it into the circular with an inappropriate word spelled out on the board. 11 million copies of the toy book were distributed, and it left CALDOR wondering how such an error could occur. The public relations mishap just added to the mounting problems for the chain. Stores had already begun to close, and the closures continued through 1999. A Chapter 7 bankruptcy was now imminent, and the company began liquidating all of their assets. Between January and May of 1999, everything was sold off. On May 15, 1999, the very last CALDOR store officially closed, ending a 48-year run. Carl and Dorothy Bennett built CALDOR together, a true partnership that was expressed by the name. The quality and the experience they wanted their customers to enjoy is what set them apart from other retailers of the time. For many, shopping at CALDOR is still dearly missed, and the pleasant memories of those days will be ones we won't soon forget. As always, thank you so much for watching.